The highway stretched ahead, a long ribbon of faded asphalt cutting through the Arkansas night. Bobby Big Rig Durham tightened his grip on the steering wheel, his knuckles white against the lever. The clock on the dashboard glowed an angry 11:42 p.m., 18 minutes left. He had to be at the Tyson Foods distribution center in Pine Bluff by midnight, or he'd miss his quota and miss out on his quarterly bonus. Bobby exhaled through his nose, muttering a curse under his breath. He was pushing the limits of the speed limit, dancing dangerously close to the edge of what DOT officers tolerated. His Peterbilt's diesel engine roared as he nudged the speed up another notch, the hum of rubber on asphalt filling the cab. The road was quiet at this hour, but that didn't mean trouble wasn't lurking. Somewhere out there, a state trooper might be sitting in the dark waiting. The GPS showed 43 miles left. If he kept this speed, he'd be there with maybe 3 minutes to spare. That was cutting it close, too close for comfort. But what choice did he have? The warehouse supervisor at his last stop in Little Rock had taken too long unloading his trailer. Now he was paying the price. His dispatcher Randy had made it crystal clear. If you don't hit the quota this quarter, Bobby, you can kiss that bonus goodbye. And I don't need to tell you fuel costs ain't going down. You need that money. He was right. He did need that money. His youngest boy Travis had been talking about trying out for travel baseball this summer, and the fees weren't cheap. His wife Sarah had already stretched their budget thin. He wasn't about to let his family down. Bobby checked his mirrors. Empty road. He flicked his high beams on, the light cutting through the humid night air, illuminating the thick pine trees lining the shoulder. The sign ahead read, Pine Bluff, 35 miles. Another curse. He was still behind schedule. He could make up some time if he skipped his usual stop at the rest area. The truck was running low on diesel, but he had just enough to get to the warehouse and back to a truck stop. His stomach twisted at the idea. It was a risk. Running out of fuel was worse than being late. He swallowed the thought and pressed forward, cutting corners. The next 10 miles passed in a blur. His eyes flicked between the road and the glowing green digits on his dashboard clock. 11:49 p.m., 11 minutes left. Up ahead, a long curve in the road stretched out before him. Bobby knew this bend well. It was one of those deceptively sharp ones, the kind that could flip a rig if you took it too fast. The caution signs were there for a reason. Normally, he'd slow down, ease into the turn, let the weight of the trailer guide him. Not tonight. Bobby kept his foot steady on the accelerator. The truck barreled forward, the force of the turn pressing him against the door. The tires groaned. The trailer swayed slightly, but he held steady, hands firm on the wheel. 11:52 p.m. The truck straightened out, and Bobby let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His heartbeat pounded in his ears, but he didn't dare slow down. Then, up ahead, red lights. A set of brake lights flickered in the distance. Another trucker. Bobby gritted his teeth. This was the last thing he needed. As he got closer, he could see it was an old Freightliner hauling a double trailer. The rig was going 5 miles under the speed limit. That wasn't going to work. Bobby checked his mirrors. No headlights behind him, just empty highway and moonlight. There was a passing lane up ahead, short but just enough room. He hit his turn signal and pulled into the left lane. His engine grumbled as he surged forward, his trailer rocking slightly from the charge of momentum. The Freightliner's driver honked, a long, annoyed blast. Bobby ignored it. As soon as he cleared the front bumper, he swerved back into the right lane, his trailer settling behind him. A quick glance at the clock, 11:55 p.m. He was going to make it, but just as the thought crossed his mind, flashing blue lights, Bobby's stomach turned to ice. Race against the clock. The state trooper had been waiting in the median, a shadow against the trees. Bobby hadn't seen him until it was too late. The red and blue lights reflected in his side mirror a beacon of bad luck. Come on, he groaned, gripping the wheel. He had a decision to make. If he pulled over, that was it. Game over. He'd be late. No quota, no bonus. His foot hovered over the brake. Then, against every instinct, he kept going. Maybe, just maybe, the trooper was after the other guy. Maybe he'd get lucky. The flashing lights stayed behind him. No luck. The siren blared. The trooper was right on his tail now, demanding he pull over. Bobby exhaled sharply. He couldn't outrun the law. He flicked on his right blinker, slowing down, moving toward the shoulder. 11:57 p.m. The moment the truck stopped, the trooper's door flew open. A flashlight beamed into Bobby's cab as the officer approached. Bobby rolled down his window, keeping his hand on the wheel. "Evening, officer." "License and registration," the trooper said, voice flat. "You in a hurry?" Bobby hesitated. "Little bit. You passed that truck back there on a solid line, and you were doing 10 over. Bobby clenched his jaw. "I know." The trooper sighed, glancing at the paperwork. He was younger, maybe early 30s, but he had the weary look of someone who'd seen a lot of reckless driving. "Where you headed?" "Tyson Distribution Center in Pine Bluff. Gotta be there by midnight." The officer glanced at the clock on his belt. 11:58 p.m. "You ain't gonna make it." Bobby exhaled sharply, frustration knotting in his chest. "I know." The officer studied him for a moment, then said, "Wait here." Bobby's fingers drummed against the wheel as he watched the trooper walk back to his cruiser. The seconds ticked by. Then, another set of flashing lights. A tow truck rolled past, heading in the same direction Bobby had been going. The officer returned. "Look, I should write you up, but I'm feeling generous tonight." Bobby's head snapped up. "You're letting me go?" The trooper sighed. "You were reckless, but I get it. I drove trucks before I joined the force. Sometimes the job puts you in a bad spot." He handed back Bobby's license. "But don't let me catch you pulling a stunt like that again." Relief flooded Bobby's chest. "I won't." The trooper tapped the door. "Go on. You've got 2 minutes." Bobby didn't waste time. The final stretch. The truck roared to life as Bobby pulled back onto the road, his heart pounding. The warehouse was just ahead, a few turns away. 11:59 p.m. He could see the lights of the loading dock. He pressed the gas, the truck rumbling as it powered forward. The warehouse gate loomed. 12 o'clock a.m. His tires screeched slightly as he pulled into the docking area. The security guard stepped out, checking his watch. Then he waved Bobby in. Bobby slumped back in his chair, taking a deep breath. Made it, just in time. Thanks for joining us on the open road. If you want even more stories, remember before you leave to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you next time that we're on the open road.